As a YouTuber, multi-camera recordings are something I need to do all the time, but they're a total pain and kind of complicated to set up. Until now, Logitech is sponsoring this video and they've got the new Mevo camera kit. So this small box of 3 cameras is all you need to do a legit multi-camera recording. And today in this video, I'm going to show you how I would use it for a podcast style setup. But of course, you could use it for many more things, including live events, for fitness videos, cooking videos, DIY. Like there's so many ways that it's really useful to set up a bunch of cameras and be able to switch between them quickly. So let's break it down. In this Mevo Starter 3-pack, you've got 3 of these. These are the Mevo cameras themselves, and they really are totally self-contained. It's got everything you need inside of each one, including a battery. It's rated up to 6 hours, which is an incredibly long time to be streaming. And if you need to go longer than that, there is a USB-C port on the back. While we're looking at the back, there's also a place for micro SD cards. What that allows you to do is each camera can record internally so that later you could edit them. But that's not how we're going to do it today. We're going to be switching live, which is one of my favorite features about it. But of course, for a lot of professional setups, yeah, you want that extra recording. Also on the back is a headphone input jack. This is just standard size. You can plug a lot of different mics in there. I'll show you how that works in a minute. But for now, we're just going to look at the power button, which you just press down, hold, and it's going to boot it up. The 4 lights on the back indicate a few things, the battery life, or if it's trying to connect to Wi-Fi. And then on the front, I really appreciate this, there is a big tally light. And a tally light is what tells you, are you recording or not? And is it powered on? Like what's the status of what's going on here? Or are you live? Can other people see you in this moment? So right now it's just prepped and ready to go. But as we're switching between cameras, that tally light will turn red so you know which camera to look to. If we look on the bottom, there's some very familiar thread sizes here. First, you see a 1/4-20. This is the most common photography size, means that you can put it on any tripod out there. And if you want to unscrew that, the larger thread inside is that standard mic stand mount. So if you've got a bunch of mic stands kicking around, very easy to attach. One thing I love about mic stands with these is if you want to boom this over top of whatever you're doing, it makes it incredibly easy because the camera is so lightweight. Goes directly onto a mic boom stand, which are pretty cheap and affordable, a lot easier than mounting a full-size mirrorless camera up there. Logitech also makes Mevo tabletop stands. These are sold separately, and they're just super adjustable and customizable, so you can put the camera in any position, in any place that you need it. The 3 ball joints on there let you twist it into any direction that you want, and that standard 1/4-20 thread lets you attach the camera. Or something else, if you need to put a mic on there, you can do that too. The way I'm excited to use these is for in-person interviews. So if you've ever watched the video version of my podcast, go to the StalmanPodcast.com or youtube.com/Stalman Podcast. You can see I always have 3 cameras whenever possible. And 3 angles is really ideally what you need for an interview because you need one wide shot where you see both of the people and the relationship to each other. And then you need a close-up of each of them. Only 2 cameras doesn't give you that kind of signal to like, where are they even in the same room? Because you may not know if there's only 2 cameras. 3 is really ideal. So the way that I set them up is first, I put that wide camera a bit further away so that both people are going to be visible. However it is that they're seated in the room, I want to make sure that I can see the distance between the 2 of them. That means that my wide angle camera is going to be on a tripod or mic stand and pulled a little bit further back. But my 2 close-up cameras, they can be sitting on the same table that we are using those tabletop stands. An important tip, each camera should be pointing across at the person on the other side of the table. So each camera is looking past each other. This is so you've got a little bit more distance and it's kind of seeing the front of their face rather than if you just turn the camera beside them, looking at their profile, you're not getting as nice of an angle there. Now that we've got our cameras in place, we can launch the Mevo Multicam app. Now, there are a few different Mevo apps in the App Store. This one is specifically for multicam. There's another one for just using one camera and another one for microphones, which is really cool. But inside the Multicam app, it was really easy for me to connect each camera. I just have to sign in to my Wi-Fi, and then they are showing up live in my iPad. By the way, I'm doing this with my iPad, which I think kind of gives you the best experience because you have the most screen real estate, but you can just as easily do it on your phone. As soon as the cameras are connected, you can start switching between them and just have fun with what multi-camera is. And it's happening live too. Like this just touch screen interface, it's really good. There's like no learning curve here. You just touch the right place and it's going to switch to the camera that you want. And you can actually just stop here if you wanted to, and this could be your whole setup. The only thing I'd make sure is that you've got the actual camera pretty close to you. It's got some decent microphones on top that will pick up your voice well and sound like a good webcam. But keep in mind that if the camera is more than a foot or two away from you, that sound quality will start to degrade and you're going to hear the echo of the room a lot. This is the same thing on any mic that you're using. So you really want to get something closer up to your mouth. For my podcast, I'm going to use Logitech's new Sona Blue, which are actually amazing. Like, these are some of the nicest podcast mics I've seen. I've been testing them. The audio quality is great. And they also they look really elegant and, fit into kind of any environment. But even as a professional podcasting mic, it does need to be close to me to have that professional quality. So that's how we're going to set them up here. Each guest is going to have their own mic very close to them, much better than having one mic for everybody to share because you're going to get a lot of echo once again. And you do want to be speaking front onto it. Ideally, I would actually be talking this way. I just moved it to the side a little so you could see my face the whole time. With microphones like this, they do have an XLR input, which is kind of a more traditional professional setup. And that means you'll have to send this out to a preamp. So you will need an accessory there. But there are lots of other mics out there that just have a regular headphone jack coming out of them. You can plug that straight into the Mevo cameras. In fact, the way I was just trying it here is that I was using simple, cheap lav mics, which you can get on Amazon or where, they're everywhere. They're not very expensive and they can plug directly into one of the cameras and then you can just clip it onto your collar and get great audio. So whether you've got fancy mics going into a preamp and then that preamp is going into a Mevo camera, or you're just plugging straight into the Mevo camera, you now have good audio. You just have to go into the mixer in the Mevo Multicam app and mute any of the cameras that are using the internal audio of the camera so that you're only using those highest quality sources. A few cool hidden features about the Blue Sona you may not notice in the back. There is a bass cut, so you don't have to do that in post, and also a presence boost. Let me show you what those sound like. This is with the bass cut turned on, also known as a high pass feature. I actually use this most of the time because those lower than vocal frequencies are usually only damaging your audio. And now I've turned on the presence, which just should be boosting vocal frequencies. And this is what it sounds like. But I think the best hidden feature in here is that there is a bit of a preamp inside. So you don't need to rely on your external preamp to be cranked up as high or adding something else in your signal chain, like some other very famous podcast mics that a lot of people use. This is much simpler, much cleaner to set up. Everything, everywhere,
all at once.
It's hard to talk about the movie to people that, have you seen it?
No.
It's hard to talk about it to people that haven't seen it because there's just it is very rich and you do have to watch it. It's very unlike so many other films. I actually kind of came away with if I were to talk to somebody else that watched it, I'd have a bunch of things I could critique about it that I'm like, I don't really like how the pacing of this moment but it's so original. It's just like, it blows your hair back. It's like, this is what movies are for. Now we've got everything set up. All three cameras are ready to go, but there's a few more settings I want to change in the Mevo Multicam app. So first, we're going to set the same white balance to all three of them. If they're on auto, one camera might end up looking different than the others, so I'd rather just lock them all in. Usually you can just choose either tungsten or daylight, depending where you are. Then I also want to look at our close-up cameras. Since they are quite wide angle, I'm going to crop in on them just slightly so they feel a little closer. Don't show the other person's shoulder. It's just a close-up of each person while they're talking. Do you remember when we made those cooking videos?
Yes. I don't want to digress, but we should make more.
Okay. I think so too.
I was trying to get on top of making videos of my mom making all of our favorite foods. So instead of writing them down as recipes, I could have them in a video form.
Well, now I have the perfect way to do it because I think these would be way better because they're actually really easy to mount up high and stuff because they're wireless, super lightweight. And so while you're doing the thing with your mom, you guys are working together and cooking. Yeah. I could be over here pressing the buttons, switching the cameras, right?
Does this whole setup work with lav mics as well?
Yes, 100%. Actually, and you don't even need to get the wireless ones. You could just use regular cabled lav mics, plug them in to the back of these cameras, and then you just have the mic on you if you wanted to. There's a ton of ways to use these tiny little cameras for very professional setups. But if you want to learn how I record my remote video podcasts, I do have a video all about that. And this whole channel has a lot of stuff that'll hopefully teach you how to make better videos. So maybe you'll hit subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.